We're going to start with the Dudenhofer dress. Now this is really special. Wow. And that's Becca Strong. She's our first model, and we are privileged to have her in a special replica wedding dress to open the show. This is its first public appearance, and aren't we lucky? Researchers at the museum continue to study the original. The replica that you see was made by expert seamstress and costume designer Bonnie Garland. Now the Dudenhofer dress is dated as 1845. This piece is believed to be the wedding gown of Anna. Oh, I should put this on, shouldn't I? I was wondering why it was. I thought, well, the patch isn't working very well. Oh, there we are. Oh, that's much better. Thank you. Okay. This piece is believed to be the wedding gown of Anna Margaret Dudenhofer, married in Germany at the age of 16. Anna migrated to Canada around 1850 and settled in a log house in Attire. The blue and pink shot silk creates a dazzling appearance for this violet-colored gown. This unique garment features a whalebone bodice and is completely hand-sewn. Since the dress is a little bit large for Becca, she had to somehow wear it. So that we think, oh, isn't that nice? It fits her perfectly, which it looks like it does. And there were quite a few yards that were fabric that were used to make this dress. It has a fitted and boned bodice with seams over the bust. The material for the skirt is evenly gathered to fit the bodice. The sleeves are sewn in 3 parts with a braided trim. It would have been a big challenge for its maker to dye this fabric using modern dyes. A far cry from the aniline dye used in the mid-1800s. The neckline and hem are trimmed with lace. Of special interest is the 2-piece band of fabric stitched invisibly down the center of the dress. The buttons are decorative. 13 of them graduating in size from top to bottom. How many hours to reproduce them one can only guess. Thank you, Becca. Well done. Now the next person to grace the runway is Nancy Mallard. Nancy fits in beautifully with the mid-Victorian era of 1860, both in her costume and demeanor. All she needs is a hoop skirt with a petticoat worn over it to facilitate the fullness of her dress. 7 yards of fabric were gathered to be fitted around the edge of her bodice. And you can see as Nancy twirls around all the fabric that's there. Her accessories are the little Peter Pan collar, under sleeves to wear under the pagoda sleeves, and her house cap to keep her hair clean. It is a neat and tidy appearance, should she be expecting visitors. Oh, she maybe isn't anticipating visitors too much. I can only see her from the back. Oh, and the tiny brooch she's wearing is a faded tintype, a photograph of a child. Wow. If Nancy were doing household tasks, these accessories would be a dark color with no hoop or petticoat. Instead, Nancy would gather up her dress, put on a serious apron, and get to work. If you are wondering how she would negotiate the muddy streets of York, she would be wearing special footgear to raise herself up. Now, the footgear that she's wearing right now are not quite what she would be wearing. She might be wearing something like a little slipper or something. and they're called pattens, P-A-T-T-E-N-S. They're very clumsy looking things. Believe it or not, my husband David, who was a collector of many things, had a pair, and he just could not find them, but there's a really good sketch of them on one of the tables, so you'll be able to see them and know what they look like. Now, I have to carry on, because I need to tell you this. Now, the dress was made by me. I can't imagine how I ever did that. The dress was made by me as a volunteer at the Gibson House in Willowdale, home of David Gibson, one of Toronto's first surveyors. To be a volunteer there was serious business. You were on probation for 6 months, expected to attend monthly meetings, make your own costume from an authentic pattern, or hire a dressmaker. There were also mock tours where you were marked and given lessons on deportment. Thank you, Nancy. You get top marks. Now, our next model, oh, this is delightful. This is a beautiful young lady. Imagine Tahila Langford.
Yeah.
Imagine Tahila all dressed up and ready to go skating. It's 1905. 40 years have passed since the mid-Victorian era with its hoop cages, its fashionable ladies swathed in yards of fabric. Some of those hoops were so wide, and I like this part, that the wearer could displace 3 men in a room. I really like that. Or you could hide, if you had 3 small dogs, you could hide it under your shirt. I love your laughter. That's better. Bustles, women's shapes changed as all that fabric was gradually pushed to the back to form a shape requiring a bustle to hold it in place, followed by a fancy train. Bustles were as awkward as hoops, for they had to be adjusted so the wearer could be seated. Leg of mutton sleeves came in and out of fashion, reaching their fullest about 1885. Now, one of the most restrictive fashions was in Vogue from 1908 to 1915, and it was called the hobble skirt, and gave the wearer the appearance of having one leg. Now, I'm going to put this in, I can't resist. A neighbor of mine, an elderly gentleman in his 90s, some people would remember Edgar Nishaw. He really enjoyed watching ladies try to get up into a tram or a train or something, because he caught sight of their ankles. That was really, really neat for him to see ladies' ankles. And so this rather odd look, as I say, was in fashion, and ladies like to be fashionable, but to balance it, you should see the hats they wore. They were absolutely humongous, but it did balance the look. Tahila's waist, that's her blouse, and walking skirt required much less material. There is a hint of a leg of mutton sleeve, and a small waist like hers was to be desired and admired. Her skates have a history of their own. They are actually an elegant boot with a label stitched inside. It reads McPherson Shoe Canada. John McPherson began his craft as a bench shoemaker, then years later as a boot shoe manufacturer for the company in Hamilton. This company would join forces with CCM. Anybody here have a bicycle? A CCM bicycle? Well, these were the folks that made bicycles. They did a lot of work with tubing. So I guess it was a natural that they would take up making skate blades. So anybody that's a hockey player, there's a great history there of your skate blades. Do read more on the internet about this company, for theirs is a story unto itself. If you look at early paintings, you'll see lovely ladies with long skirts on the arm of a tall-hatted gentleman, gracefully gliding in skate blades. Drop. You can be forgiven if you wonder how they kept their balance. Thank you, Tila. Now, we are going to welcome Becca Strong. We're going to welcome her back. So I have to tell you a little bit about her because I didn't tell you about her in the first place. Becca has been an historical interpreter at the Simcoe County Museum in Midhurst for 2.5 years. Her main work is in educating children and organizing camp days. She also interprets for the public during special events. She is wearing a replica of a World War I nursing sister's uniform. It consists of a double-breasted blouse and a long skirt worn under an ankle-length white apron with a bib. Her headdress is referred to as a veil. The collar and cuffs are removable. The dark blue cape or overcoat was worn during inclement weather. Compared to other Allied nurses, these uniforms were of better quality. And I think Becca starched her headpiece, her veil. So it looks wonderful. The nurses were nicknamed bluebirds because of the color of their uniforms. During World War I, the nursing sisters were sent overseas. They were renowned for their professionalism and high level of care. By the end of the war in 1918, more than 50 nursing sisters would never return home. Makes you feel a little sad, doesn't it? Now, a little change of mood. We have Sergei Savchenko, who is going to be modeling for us a golfer's outfit. Yes, a very handsome golfing guy. And he is practicing his swing with an authentic wooden golf club. He appreciates the history of this ancient sport, grateful perhaps that he isn't golfing on the damp moors of Scotland. The game of golf officially began as a sport when the Gentlemen Golfers of Leith formed the first club in 1744. An annual competition with silverware prizes. Oh my. One of the rules was, if your ball comes among water or any watery filth, you are at liberty to take your ball out and tee it. You may play it with any club and allow your adversary a stroke for helping to get his ball out. My, a gentleman's sport indeed. Sergei is dressed in keeping with gentlemen of the 1930s, wearing a vest, a white shirt with a bow tie, a comfortable pair of +4s, also known as knickerbockers, and argyle stockings. Don't you think they sent that off? And the cap. Now, that doesn't happen every day to find a cap that's going to fit a head. So there he is.
Nice.
Thank you, Service. Have a great round and try to stay out of the bunkers. Now, we have two young models, Avery Dekma and Dmitry Savchenko. Everybody goes We are so pleased to be featuring these two young people. Avery's dress was a very popular style for many years in the early 1900s to the mid-20s. Note the blousy look with the sash at the hip and, of course, the big bow at the back. Very good. Her stockings are special, for they are hand-knit with a picot edge. Girls in this period wore their hair in long ringlets, usually tied on top with a big bow. I understand that Avery's mom, is it Kirsty? Avery's mom, Kirsty, used torn rags to curl her hair. So when you are looking at the displays, you will see cutout dolls dressed just like Avery and Dimitri. So please, you know, they're interactive. What you see on the tables relates often to what the models are doing. Now about Dimitri, this is a first for Dimitri. His sailor tunic, hat, and knee-length pants are spot on. In fact, the sailor collar, very good, was adopted by girls and women for many years during this period and later. 14 years ago, when we held a turn-of-the-century fashion show and tea, we had two young models about the same age take a turn on the runway. Our bond-head seamstress, Jackie Johnson, designed and made these costumes. So it's so lovely to have them worn again.
So the cap that Dimitri is wearing is actually a World War II U.S. Navy cap. And it's from my dad's collection.
Wow. Yeah, that's really special. As you'll see, these lovely uniforms are pretty special too. Now next, oh, sorry. 14, okay. Well, it's nice to see, you're doing great, I'm glad to see you. I've noticed they're managing a little skip up the step. And that's not easy. Now, for a complete change, I'm sorry, I'm feeling a little giggly because George is going to be lively. We know George. He does all sorts of things. Oh dear, you're laughing already. George is sporting a fur-lined, all-wool winter coat. We were surprised to discover one just like it in a 1924 Simpsons catalog. Price was $30. The shawl collar and lining are marmot fur. It is double-breasted with barrel-shaped toppers fastened with loops. There are leather arm shields inside the coat and knitted storm wristlets designed for added warmth. I think George likes this. Now, you might be a little disappointed when I tell you this. Webster's Dictionary informs us that marmots are burrowing rodents with bushy tails. Their fur can be treated to resemble expensive furs. But of course, you're admiring George's top hat. It is made of silk. Beavers were in danger of becoming extinct, so the lustrous silk fibers made a fine substitute. From your top hat to your spats and swinging your mahogany walking stick with its gold cap, you epitomize a fine gentleman of the early 20s. Thank you, George.
Wow.
It is just a natural. Nancy Mallard is returning to the stage. Leaving her maternal image of 60 years ago to become a flapper. Her desire for fun and freedom is apparent in her short, slim dress, sparkling with beads, and a long string of silver pearls swinging from her neck. She will take the scissors to her long hair to fashion it into a bob. Now that change would be shocking in those days. Those around her, and especially her husband, would be horrified. All that lovely hair cut to make a bob. But Nancy's having fun. She's going to kick up her heels doing the Charleston. Yeah, doing the Charleston. And she's going to be rouging her knees. And wait, look at this. What she's going to be doing is just terrible. Your mothers and grandmothers be horrified. She's smoking. Thank you, Nancy. Sergei Savienko is now modeling formal attire to attend a prestigious event. Here is the history. The original owner is Dr. Paul Scott, Jamie Scott's grandfather, who studied medicine and pharmacy at U of T. He's a well-known physician in Toronto on Avenue Road and a member of Heart House, and would have worn it to functions there. A guesstimate of its date is 1940 to 50. Jamie has worn his grandfather's tux and tails only once because it was itchy. Now the outfit consists of a jacket with a cutout front, satin lapels, a long-sleeve cotton shirt with tucking detail, cuffs and cufflinks. The trousers have a narrow satin band sewn down each leg. The tails are long, extending from waist to knees. Of special note is his top hat, made of beaver fur. He would have wanted nothing less, for one's hat speaks volumes of the wearer's status. So he has a lot to be proud of. The fashion of wearing these garments goes back centuries. So there's a little display, I don't know if it's upstairs or downstairs, of gentlemen wearing these outfits. Thank you very much. Now, Deborah Scott is going to take a turn on the runway. She is Jamie Scott's wife. And to me, she epitomizes simplicity and class. She's wearing a lustrous silk velvet ankle-length coat. Going to the opera, perhaps? The lamb's wool bow in her hair is a perfect accompaniment. And she's carrying a discreet, somewhat discreet, satin purse with Limoges detailing. And it belonged to her mother-in-law. So you can imagine what pleasure the ladies have had in wearing this. Now, we are going to be welcoming Ida Hassler. Hassler. Sorry. Trying to pronounce it.
It looks like grainy.
April the 6th, 1927 was a momentous occasion for Ida's mother. She was a young woman of 23, and it was her wedding day. She must have felt excited as she walked down the aisle of a country Methodist church in rural Newfoundland. Her grandmother and mother would have been proud to see her looking so lovely in clothing they had made for her. The finest fabric, like a silk brocade for her dress, and the hand-crocheted petticoat made by her grandma. Blue flowers, symbolic of something blue, were pinned, one to her shoulder and the other at her waist. Her husband-to-be gave her a special brooch, something new, sure to guarantee a happy marriage. Today, 98 years later, May 24, 2025, Ida Hessler, who is the youngest daughter, is wearing her mother's wedding dress for us to enjoy. Now, next we're going to enjoy seeing the lovely Tahila Langford take the runway. Welcome in your new role, Tahila. You're a hippie. Welcome in your new role as a flower child, a hippie from the mid-1960s. Consider yourself as traveling through time and space to an earlier era, completely different from the one you left behind. If you looked at photos of yourself then, you would see a young woman dressed demurely in the fashion of the Edwardian era, getting ready to go skating in a long skirt. Now, here you're wearing a flowing dress. Your hair is loose, adorned with flowers. You've got sandals on your bare feet. You have joined a large movement of young people who are idealistic, who share a different value system than their elders. You stand for love and peace. You decorate flowers on memorial stones. Your dress expresses your style, your love of color with lots of embroidery, inspired by the marketplaces in India, Asia, and Africa. Our attention is drawn to those tiny sparkling bits that shine from those embroidered motifs along the neckline of your dress. What are they? Well, they are called shisha, which means mirror. They're actually very small mirrors. If you look closely, you can see your face in them. Thank you, Tahila. Now we're going to see Indiana Jennings. Indiana is a strong and confident model. She is boldly portraying a hippie wearing a replica of the British flag, black stockings, and heavy black boots. I guarantee she'll turn heads wherever she goes. Although the terms hippie and flower children were often used interchangeably, hippies were often more politically charged. They would not be decorating monuments with flowers. Instead, they'd be marching in parades, carrying placards. Stop the Vietnam War. Make love, not peace. No. That's what happens when you go off script. They adopted the peace symbol designed by Gerald Haltman. In 1958, the British campaign for nuclear disarmament. You will notice this symbol on Indiana's denim jacket, as well as the exaggerated open mouth of Mick Jagger, who is band of Rolling Stones, influenced massive crowds with his song Street Fighting Man. Who wore this jacket in the 1970s is anybody's guess. Now, we have decided to end our fashion show through the past on a serious note. Given the times that we live in now, our fervent desire is to end the tragic loss of so many lives and the gut-churning fear that those in power are not listening. Churchill was flashing the V sign with his 2 fingers during most of his appearances. Here's to all of you, my friends. Go in peace.